you guys doing? This is Mike with Open Ears. I'm here with Sydney, Eloise, and the Palms. Thanks for sitting down with us today, guys. So I just kind of want to ask you a few questions about you guys, how you guys got started, influences and things like that. So tell me about the evolution of Sydney and the Palms. How did it all get started?
Well, I've been performing a while by myself, and I got a little bit bored performing alone, and so I kind of teamed up with Damon and Chandler here. We're best friends, so we just kind of fleshed out a song, and it just was magical. So from there, we're like, well, let's just keep on playing. So from there, we ended up slowly chipping away, making a record we didn't even know that we were making. And then now that it's finished and completed, and we're ready to present it to the world, we have an awesome crew of musicians that are just really great guys that are really add so much to the sound. So, thank you, Damon.
Yeah, we finished the record. We didn't really know that we were gonna record a whole record. We kind of started off just recording a track, and it just felt really good, the collaboration and everything. So we just kept it going, and then by the end of it, it was okay, this is really good. So yeah, we finished it, and then now we're kind of putting the band together that is gonna play live, and then become the real thing, and and then we'll just evolve together from there as as a big unit, and keep working on the next record.
You guys have already been getting a lot of press over the last 2 weeks. A lot of people premiering your songs, and they've given the name ranges of Fleetwood Mac to Jenny Lewis. Do you agree?
I mean, for me, those are both really strong influences. I grew up with Fleetwood Mac. I love Stevie Nicks. She's just badass. And Jenny, I've always loved Relo Kiley, to her solo stuff, and she's definitely been an influence as well. But at the same time, I like to try to do my own thing, make it as creative as possible and authentic as possible. And with these guys, they're already trying to make it as weird as possible. It's pop music, but let's kind of mess it up a bit. But yeah, I would agree with those comparisons. That's an honor to be in that category at all. So.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of that where it's I think that we all just have so many different influences where we started pulling. It's let's Phil Spector this here, let's George Harrison this here, that is Zombie's piano part, and so it's it's just big mesh,
Yeah.
So
Definitely the same wheelhouse, It's probably a lot of the people that influence those artists are some of the same people that are influencing us. And so I think it's probably natural to go back, not as far back in time, to find something to compare to, even if it's not what's directly influencing us, because if we're drawing influences from something further back, and then those people are as well, and they came before us, it probably makes sense to throw that out there. And so yeah, it's definitely all probably the same school of thought.
So, Sydney, are you the main songwriter, or is it more of a collaborative process?
I feel like it's really collaborative. I kind of come in with the skeleton of the song, verse, hook, bridge, but very bare bones, and nothing's really set in stone. Transitions and stuff like that, these guys just really help me fill that out, and kind of will tweak the arrangement and what the vibe will be. A lot of times I'm I have this song, I'm not sure, should it be a ballad? Should we speed it up and rock it out? And that's where these guys come in, and they're no, we should do this and run with it. So I feel it's very even between all of us, helping make it sound.
Yeah, Sid's the master of the bridge, but she doesn't really know it. She'll all the time come to us with a skeleton of a song. She's and here's the hook. And then Chandler and I are both immediately, almost all
Pretty
the time,
every time,
just that's the bridge.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I just love bridges. I just think there should just be multiple bridges in every song.
bridges are hard.
I just love them. I don't even mean to do it, and then I have to be wait, now I have to rewrite another hook. That's not it.
This band has seen the confounded bridge.
Right. Exactly.
Was there really any inspiration? Where's it come from for the songwriting?
I think it's a lot of different things, and like a whole theme of this project in particular is like different views, and for me, different perspectives on my own life and things that I've experienced. Where some of these songs I wrote 4 or 5 years ago. So I was like in the thick of maybe a heartache or a heartbreak and like coming from it in that point of view. And then now some of the songs I wrote like a couple of weeks before we like sent it to mastering. So I had a different perspective. Maybe I was a little more bitter, or maybe I was also turning, the mirror a little bit, looking at myself and maybe how I was a part of that. So I don't know. For me, it takes a lot of time. Like if something is happening in my life right now, I'm not the type of person that's gonna write about it at that time. Like I have to marinate on it. It could be 2 or 3 months from that moment. It could be 3 years from that moment. It's really like my brain's a little funny. Whenever it decides, it won't come out. So yeah.
Well, you mentioned you guys have ballads, you have upbeat numbers. Was there a way, initial kind of goal you were looking towards for the first record, or is it just kind of come out?
I just remember initially we were like, we're gonna do a 7-inch, like 2 songs,
Right.
that's it.
Yeah.
But then we were like, well, like we already have these other songs we've worked on. Let's just go for it. And so at that point, at the end, we're like, let's just fill it out. I feel like we did have a goal to like keep it a little bit more upbeat, like evenly between them, like upbeat and also some that are a little more ballady. What do you guys think?
Yeah. I mean, it seems like we kind of set like parameters. Like this is like as high as it's going to go, and probably as low as it's going to go.
Yeah.
And then some parameters of like influences and things,
Yeah.
and kind of fill it out in between there.
Especially like from midway towards the end, like from midway to the end of the recording process, I think we kind of like started to look at the whole thing as one thing and less of like just like individual songs. And so then it was kind of maybe that influenced our writing a little bit in the sense of like, like if this is like the rough track placement, or like we feel like this is kind of a mid-record song and this is like the total like opener and this is like is more of the closer, we kind of like started to try to
Fill
hear
in the blanks.
Yes, we started to
Like
try
fill
to
in
hear
the vibes, really. Just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
this needs something like this.
to hear the gaps, and then like and then see what the things that we were writing and just kind of like mold that to be instead of what we needed it to be, what we felt like it should be.
And like process-wise, it was kind of like very open-ended because we had like the studio kind of whenever,
Yeah.
So it's just like let's just like play an acoustic guide track and then like layer something like that's not the vibe. Take that off. Try that. And just see like what's missing. It was a very like experimental process to be like okay that fits well with the next track.
Yeah.
Like that.
Some of the first songs that we were working on were also some of like the last songs that were like really finished. There was a lot like we kept it really open and really like nothing was really ever done until it was just abandoned.
It still couldn't be finished, but we finally were like, we gotta get this
I know.
out.
Yeah.
Because you can roll over it
Yeah.
forever and be like, oh wait, but now that like we've had some time, we could totally redo that and it could be so much better, have a different vibe. But at some point, it's just life, and you have to be like, that's a moment in time. Let's move on, create, other new things.
The problem with unlimited access to a studio is you have unlimited access to it.
Yeah.
You cannot, like, we had to make a timeline at some point because I was like, we're gonna be doing this for 5 years.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
just like keep
Moderation
going
is for the
over.
monks.
So, finally, we're like, let's do it.
Well, that brings me to I know Chandler, Damon, you guys are heavily involved in the Cottage, which is one of Atlanta's best recording studios. So like you said, you basically have unlimited access. So it seems like you've kind of really created this, huge record.
Yeah.
Like the song, like Tell Me What I Want to Hear, it kind of slowly builds and it almost becomes like, it's almost like a rock orchestra. You got so many,
Yeah,
Sure.
That was,
Yeah.
that's what the vibe was.
so, was it just a good thing or, did it make it that much tougher just actually recording and getting this done?
I don't know if it was tougher. I think it was definitely like whenever we hit the right thing, we were like, that's it, But it was definitely like we tried a lot of stuff that, if we had done this record anywhere else, we probably wouldn't have been like afforded the opportunity to spend as much time on it.
It would have been a lot more straightforward.
It would have been more straightforward, yeah. And I think the next record we could probably do something more like that because this record we were kind of like the three of us were
Finding the sound, to be honest. Like, what is our sound? Like, I feel like I've been a songwriter by myself, and like, it's really easy to to adapt different styles when you're just a guitar and a voice, and figuring out like, who am I with like other musicians? Like what is this thing other than just like a song, naked song? So I think we really found that in this record.
And it seems like so far, I mean, just from what we've heard, you know, there's great singer-songwriters, but just them by themselves, you know, what separates them, and you know, you guys really seem to have this sound with just great, you know, instrumentation, you know. So
I think really we all just like meshed really well somehow. You know, it was just like, I don't know how that happened.
It was really natural.
Let's go for it.
Yeah. I think we all kind of come from that place of like, we all really admire songwriters, you know. And we're all really into rock music too, and it's just like, you know, like more, I don't know, improvised music, but also just like a good pop song, just like.
That was like the classic pop. That's the theme that we kept bringing up. We're like, this is like, it's totally pop if you like take everything away, you know. But then it's like we're kind of like stretching. Like, can we do this? Can we put like this one instrument that does one line and it doesn't come back and that's not weird, you know?
Yeah.
And that was like where the studio played, you know, the arrangement.
Yeah. Screwed up pop music.
Exactly. That's exactly.
Like we wrote pop songs, then it was like, let's just screw this up. You know, it's like if you want to listen further than like what's on the surface, then it can be really interesting, you know. And a lot of, especially these days, a lot of pop music is you know, non-interesting below the surface. To me, at least.
yeah. So you're excited to actually recreate this record finally as a full band live?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I'm so excited. I feel all sorts of emotions right now. But there's no one else I'd rather be playing with. You know, I've really grown close to all of these people, and they're just so loving, and there's no one else I'd rather be sharing this first experience with you guys with. So.
It's also kind of nice because I think we didn't even know if it was going to be a live thing at some point.
Yeah,
you know?
it's just a total.
It's just like, I think we're going to do it.
Yeah. And we didn't even know, like, when we were making these huge arrangements, we didn't really think about, like, can we do this live? It was always just like let's never even consider that. Like, let's do what the record needs and, like,
Figure it out later.
and figure it out later. If we need, you know, if we need, like, 6 guitar players to tour with, then we'll get a bigger band.
Yeah.
Like,
So you guys do have the big tour coming up in October. Where are all you heading?
right now it's like up to New York and back. And well, yeah, up to like I would say it's farthest north to Boston and back. And there's probably some surprises along the way that you know maybe aren't ready to to be let out of the bag yet.
Yeah.
But there's some good stuff happening in October that we're all really excited about.
Looking at tours process.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
It's a total process. Yeah, an awful one. Yeah.
Well, and that kind of brings me just a few more questions. Talking about more like, you know, ways to help you guys, even thinking like technology. Like, where do you guys stand on like streaming music today? You know, that's always a big fight, but you're a newer, upcoming band. You know, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing?
I feel like, I don't know, it's like such on the fence thing. Like, I want as many people as possible to hear what we're working on. So in a way, like, I really do believe in streaming music. And we are in a day and age where, like, less people are buying records. Like, the best way to get your music out there is playing live shows and streaming your music. So it's just kind of like, you have to adapt with the times a bit, even though it can be difficult and at times feel like you're being gypped. But I mean, it's such a difficult thing, but I think it's a good thing, at least where we are in our level. Like, we just want people to hear what we're doing, like, no matter what. We just want people to feel something, you know? And that's my thought.
I agree. I think kind of like the modern like kind of shunning of like organizations like Spotify and whatnot is maybe a little bit coming from a place that's not totally uneducated, but maybe like a little bit not as informed as another point of view maybe. I think Spotify is a great thing for bands that are relatively unknown and working class bands. I mean, if you're whoever, Taylor Swift or whatever, I think I can understand like the gripe behind that.
Yeah.
But it's also like it also sounds a little greedy too at the same time to me. But I think it's a totally good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like, I don't want to say a losing battle, but it's just like, there's no point kind of fighting that. It's just like, if I love a record, I'd buy the physical copy. You know, Spotify's a way to find that now. It's kind of how it's
I found so many bands that I would have never found if it wasn't for these devices that we have.
And then in turn, you pay $7 to go see their show, and you buy their record, and sometimes they sleep on your floor, and and they're off the next day, and like you totally like, as like someone that's been on tour, like that totally makes your week whenever someone comes to your show and is like, I found you online, and like I'm crashing on my floor, and they buy your stuff. Like that's just like for a touring band, that's huge.
Yeah.
It's a changing world, and so like I think all the the naysayers about streaming music are kind of like maybe a little bit on the wrong side of the argument, and it's just a changing market, and we all have to figure out how to adapt and how to make an honest living off of music again, because it's not the same as it was, and we're never going back. It's all moving forward.
Well, and like today, there's as any band, there's so many different platforms. There's Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and a million other things and tools that the world has given you that you could use. But like, is it overwhelming as a new band trying to figure out what to do and how to really use it?
I think
yeah. Well,
but I'm still learning Twitter. I'm like, what's a retweet and a tweet? There's still a difference.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. Like,
we're playing our first show tonight, and it feels like we already need a manager. It's like it's a lot to. It's a lot. But that's part of that thing about having to adapt to like the new market of the world and figure out how to conquer it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an opportunity too, It's
absolutely
because how could someone in, I don't know, Malaysia hear your music, without getting a copy, 15 years ago.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Figuring out how to make it work.
You would send an EPK, in a thing, and you would pay like $40 to ship it to Malaysia, and you would have no idea if they liked it. You would hear about that, but if they didn't like it, then maybe it just got lost in the mail.
Yeah. Well, is there anything, from a band standpoint, that you think is missing technology-wise today? Is there something out there that could help you, even from like a business aspect? Like, I know it kind of took, you actually completed the record and then getting it out there, and now it's coming out in September. Is there ways, something that, from your perspective, that is missing today?
I think booking a tour is a real pain, and I think that like there's like companies and organizations like IndieOnTheMove.com, and they've made like this totally open source database of like pretty much every venue that you would ever want to play as a touring band, and most venues that you wouldn't want to play too. I would like to see that like grow and become like. I would like to see maybe like some kind of like accountability for venues, because there's a lot of times you show up on the road and you show up somewhere and it was booked 4 months in advance, and you show up, you're like, we're the band, and they're like, oh, there's a show tonight.
Yeah.
And so it's like I would love for there to be some kind of like national performing arts corporation that kind of like could hold people accountable, maybe, because it's not easy doing this.
good luck.
Yeah.
The booking police.
What we're saying
The
is
booking
The
police.
booking police.
Yeah.
unionize, man.
We'll make a Yelp for venues,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Done.
Totally. And that's pretty much what they've done. It's like you can go on and review venues, and so I've shown up somewhere in like Lake Charles, Louisiana, and absolutely wrote a review on that website. So don't play here. But and of course, like once your band reaches a certain level, I think that kind of like the need for that kind of thing kind of goes away once you start having representation and there's more players on your team. But for a completely unknown band, maybe it's just paying your dues. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like that's about all I can think of, just like from a performance standpoint or in the studio. I don't think I can handle any more technology.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the same thing for like bands everywhere. It's so hard to find like a good band to play with in Chester, West Virginia. Or something,
Someone that's going to bring people in also.
Yeah,
Somewhere like kind of like a Facebook, but just for bands. That, like where you're from and like what's your genre is, just so it's a little easier to like contact when you're booking.
Yeah.
Right there.
There we go. Go make $1 million.
Maybe working on some of that.
Yeah.
So, kind of last question. You know, the future. Have you guys really looked into the future? You know, as far as past this album. The album's coming out in September, but you know, is there multiple tours and albums, or is it just let's see what happens? And
that's the plan. I mean, I feel like we're kind of ready to like get back in the studio pretty soon. To like, I don't know. Personally, I don't want this one to be a year and a half in the making. So it would be nice to like kind of get a jump start on the writing process, and like now that we have, you know, the right people involved, I feel like it'll go really fast. And so yeah, I'm all in. Let's keep going.
Yeah, we're writing already.
Yeah.
I think the plan is to, you know, we go through this big tour in October, and you know, keep a presence in our region, and then just kind of like hit the studio again. And yeah, hopefully this time it's a lot more direct, and we can knock it out in under a year this time. You know.
is there ever going to be a major change of the genres and whatnot? Whatever happens, you're open to anything?
Yeah, I feel like every day we're picking up something new. Like, you gotta hear this, you gotta hear this.
It really depends on what we're like listening to or into at that time too. Like that really
And a lot of that's kind of like going back and finding records, you know?
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, have you heard this? Like, Rented Wood, you know?
Yeah.
It's like not very popular, but like, oh, definitely cool right now.
It's like every weekend after practice, we're like, you know, we go to Highland Road and wherever, and just like dig through the old records and read the sleeves and figure out who played on what, and go look for records by that guy, whatever. You know, just digging back and finding new things to be inspired by. So it'll definitely be an evolution.
Personally, I'm kind of sad to not be recording for a few weeks.
Right.
So I want to get back. Yeah.
It's like the natural habitat.
Yeah, exactly. Playground.
Well, is there anything specific you guys will be listening to once you hit the van and go on the tour life? Anything new you guys are actually into?
so many.
I think a lot of moody blues. Really.
Yeah.
Ah,
Here's
all
the
right.
future path.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, actually.
That's the one, yeah.
It's a good one.
Good
Yeah.
Harrison too.
Yeah.
It's tricky.
Maybe like lately, for me at least, I've been listening to everything that you know, inspired me while we were making this record a lot. I think maybe part of that is just all the excitement of what's going on now. But yeah, a lot of like Spectre stuff and George Harrison, Paul Simon.
Old Bill Wilson found the other day.
All right, cool. Well, I appreciate you guys sitting down with us. The album is out September 22nd, so we'll excited for the show tonight.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, appreciate it.